Geek Myths, a novel about life, love, and the pursuit of sonic screwdrivers. Available in paperback and Kindle edition from Amazon.
Scanning for audio.
Welcome again to a Tin Dog podcast. This time talking about main range release number 242 from Big Finish, The Dispossessed. It's Doctor Who time back on the Tin Dog podcast. Mark Morris is a name that's been, hanging around Doctor Who fandom for a while. Seriously. If you pick up an old BBC Doctor Who novelisation, chances are his name might be on it. I'm sure that about a decade ago, when I first started doing this podcast, I had tried to do an interview with him at some point because someone I knew him. Nothing ever happened of it. But if ever he wants to appear on the TDP, this is an open invitation. Because I'm sure he's got a lot of different conversations he could possibly be having about all the different ways you write for Doctor Who. So here he is writing for Big Finish. A relatively safe pair of hands, and judging by this particular storyline, someone who still has a lot to bring to the table of Doctor Who. It's a main range release, it's the 7th Doctor, it's Mel, older Mel, and Ace, slightly older Ace. You know what? I know people have charted out in big felt tip pens and possibly using some sort of spreadsheet the entire chronology of all of the Ace stories. But you know what? It's just beyond me. Apparently Sophie Aldred's got young Ace, middle Ace, and older Ace as her 3 parts of Ace. But you know what? I think she's got more than that going on. That's just an oversimplification. Is this post-Hex? I would say probably. But I'm not putting money on it. Anyway, you've got an overarching storyline going on, which is dealt with at the end of the narrative and the end of the last story. But that's not important. What is important is that right here, right now, you've got something that I can only describe as a relatively spooky, almost ghost story. Yes, there are callbacks to other stories, sort of like Paradise Towers, or even the Mark Gatiss one set in the council estate. You've got Sophie's character mentioning Perryvale, all of those sort of things, you know, the sort of thing that we like. But this feels very, very 7th Doctor. I like to recast the stories as I listen to them, which is, you know, the sort of thing that we fans like to do. It's a bit ridiculous, where we think, all right, so if this was, say, a 6th Doctor story, how different would it be? How different would the performances be? What would the characterization be? And it is interesting to do this because you start realising that although the Doctor is the Doctor, every performance is different, every characterisation is different. And even if you'd kept Ace with a 6th Doctor, for example, this story would have felt very different. Possibly the same outcome. But this still is a very, very 7th Doctor story. It almost feels like one of those Virgin New Adventures, only without the judges from Judge Dredd in it. So what's it about? Well, here's the synopsis. The Dispossessed. The Doctor, Ace and Mel are caught in a forever night. After crossing the threshold, a strange world awaits them. An army of tortured souls, a lift that leads to an alien landscape, an alien warlord left for dead, and willing to do anything to prolong his life. It's all in a day's work for the Doctor. But when his companions become victims of the desperate and powerful Arkallax, the Doctor will have to do battle in a psychic environment where he must make a choice, save his companions or himself. Written by Mark Morris, directed by Jamie Anderson.
I'm David Warner and I'm listening to the Tid Dog podcast.
And from that you can really tell that it's got a lot of drama and the usual sort of things. Is it a continuation of the incredibly strong run of main range stories? Yes, it is. Mark Morris has managed to create a lovely, encapsulated, self-contained universe. Something that feels real enough to us, a public used to watching modern Doctor Who. But you can picture this whole thing being filmed on an estate. It feels a lot like Survival. But just because it feels like something you recognise doesn't mean it's not original. That's just not what I'm saying at all. It merely feels familiar. But enough about that. The fact that it's set in Manchester, a place most people in the UK describe as the North, is good. Trust me, that's the sort of thing that's important to people like me. Because with the exception of Time and the Rani being set apparently in Killingworth, a small town historically close to where I'm from, that's it for mentions of Newcastle upon Tyne in the classic series. So as I can drag the whole of the series north, that's fine. I suppose that's one of the reasons why I set my own Doctor Who short story in Jarrow. Everyone wants the Doctor to turn up in their own little town. I'm rambling, and so with that, I'll get back on track. People are always banging on about how Bonnie Langford's character is supposed to be this hyper-intelligent computer programmer who never gets to use her computer programming skills, and that is true. However, because of that, we're used to seeing someone who isn't using their computer skills. So when Bonnie's in an audio and she's not on a computer, you're kind of sat there going, oh, this feels more real, this feels more like a TV story. And boy oh boy, not only does this feel like a TV story, it feels like something that is on in another room, and as you know, that is always going to be my vote of confidence for a Big Finish story. Something that you almost think you've taped on a C90 cassette that you're just re-listening to. There is a scene early on in the storyline where an alien possesses someone, and it's done with such deft sleight of hand and such quality that it just makes you think, Mark Morris, please come back, please do some more. I'd love to hear his take on Torchwood. So, it's a cracking good story, yes. It has incredibly evocative imagery. And as I said, for all the world, it sounds like something you just didn't quite see on TV. Now, of late, I've also discovered several things. Number one, Big Finish are not going to be making any more episodes, for the time being, of Countermeasures. You know what? When I heard that news, I felt like I'd failed. I wanted to spread the word so much to tell everyone how good Countermeasures was, to try and get them to buy it. A new Countermeasures, with its snappy music and its sort of new Avengers-y style going on and all of the characters, and it was just brilliant. I so adored it. And of course, Survivors being cancelled, well, that's just a massive blow. I've enjoyed Survivors since episode 1, and I still haven't got round to watching the original TV series. I'll be sad to see them go, but I know for market forces reasons there's nothing you can do about it, because if people don't buy it, then people won't make it, and that's just sad. So, on that bummer of a note, what I'm going to do is, well, play you the trailer. There's a surprise, and let you hear for yourself about this particular story as we hurtle not only towards the 20th anniversary of Big Finish, but towards the 250th main range story. Who would have thought it? So until next time, be seeing you.
Coming soon from Big Finish Productions.
Tell me this. Why would you surround an area of wasteland with keep-out signs and barbed wire?
There's nothing here. We should go.
Yeah, I don't like it here. Let's make tracks, Professor.
New arrivals. Interesting. Should I kill them? Not yet, perhaps. Let's observe.
Doctor Who, The Dispossessed.
Shall we go and find out if the natives are friendly?
I don't believe it!
What is it?
A man and 2 girls. They're coming this way.
How can we help them?
By warning them about the others.
This new arrival, this doctor, is delicious. Bring him to me, my children. Bring the doctor to me now.
What you got there?
Things left behind, abandoned lives, buildings like empty shells, full of memories. We'll have to chance the lift.
Gotta get these doors open! They won't budge! They have to! I refuse to die while I'm waiting for a lift.
It's no good, Ace. They're almost on us.
We'll have to fight! Come on then, you lot! You want us? Try and take us!
Ace, no!
Big Finish. We love stories.
Chin up. It's always darkest before the dawn.
Yeah, that's the thing here though, isn't it? Dawn never comes.
That was the Doctor Who Tin Dog podcast, available on iTunes, YouTube, Twitter, RSS, Vimeo, and across the internet. Doctor Who and its associated properties are all copyright and trademark of the BBC. No infringement is intended. Why not become a supporter by visiting patreon.com/tindog. Contact the show on tin-dog@hotmail.co.uk. The Tin Dog podcast is a founder member of the Doctor Who Podcast Alliance.